XCon Media.
Welcome to XCon Media, man. Thank you for tapping in. Today we got a good one. We are going to talk about the 5 elements of self-defense. I brought my brother in here to talk about it because he has a certain expertise and plenty of experience in this department. So that's why I tapped on him. How you doing, Mr. Jerome Hill?
I am doing good, man. Thank you for bringing me back on the show, and congratulations to the success of your show.
Absolutely appreciate you, man. So give the people a little bit of your background and tell them why you know what you're talking about when it comes to this issue.
I started my career with the Pittsburgh Police Housing Authority, with the county actually, and so being a county housing authority officer, transitioning from Pittsburgh to Baltimore City, where I did narcotics and became a detective there. Ended my career in Florida as a criminal investigator, going after individuals pretending to go ahead and pretend and they're trying to be doctors and so on and so forth. So and
Mhm.
my career spanned a lot of years, a lot of disciplines, and going after people, at the very bottom of the social economic pole to the very top. So when you have that wide gamut of individuals who are trying to take advantage of other individuals, your discipline has to be very, very, very sharp, because you're going across all types of issues that people have, and a lot of it has to do with fraud, crime, and quite truthfully, a lot of individuals who are predatory in that nature,
Mhm.
they're breaking all types of laws. So, with that being said, you got to be very good at many laws and not to be specific with just a few.
Okay, that's cool. So I mean, it's just it's this is your background.
Mhm.
Family is heavy in law enforcement. You are the brother of former Clayton County Sheriff, now running for 5th Congressional District of Georgia, Victor Hill. So it's a lot to tap in. You brothers, both of you got a ton of knowledge. Loving the show Hill of Justice. All of the links to all social medias will be in the bio where y'all can check this brother out. Content is amazing and it is rapidly growing very fast, man. So y'all need to check him out. Um, okay, so we talking about the 5 elements. Now, when we discuss the 5 elements of self-defense, man, a lot of times people think, oh, I got a gun, I can use it, or I got a knife, I can use it if I get mad or get into an argument automatically with somebody. And that's not the case. We're talking in terms of Georgia, not to mention we got 11 states with a duty to retreat. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But give us some insight on the 5 elements of self-defense.
All right, when you take a look at the 5 elements of defense, some of the things that you're looking at is what I find is the most critical. Other people might see 5 different other elements. One of them is the immediacy of a threat. You have to be very, very in tune if that threat is imminent. It has to be ongoing. If coming to you right now, and I'll give some examples of those. So that's one we'll talk about. We're also going to talk about, um, you know, the proportionality of it. A lot of people, when we talk about this element of it, we're going to give examples, and you've seen many of this. The proportionality does not meet the actual issue of the crime, and I'll expand further on that. Another idea that people, kind of is the reasonableness of the belief of what you're at. Are you reasonably in fear of what's going on? And some people believe that they are, and other people exaggerate that. And so we need to talk about that. There's elements in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So the another thing is the best part of this is the aggressor versus the non-aggressor. Um, where do you fall in that area? And we'll go ahead and identify those matters too, because a lot of people believe that um, that if they are people are an aggressor,
Mm-hmm.
and when does that line stop, and when does it become an issue for you? We'll talk about that.
Okay.
These are some of the in the ability or inability to retreat. We talked about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
These are the 5 elements that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
All of them present something unique and challenging, not only for you, but also for the courts, if you happen to get into that. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and where is this being done at? Is this being done at a car? Is it being done at a house? Is it on the street? There's certain issues that are raised up about that too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So, um, basically, you cannot be the one to start the fight and then try to claim self-defense, proportionality, what the amount of what I get gather from it is the amount of force. Like, you can, if you're in an immediate threat of uh death or great bodily injury, you can use um force, deadly force. However, you must only use enough deadly force to stop the threat.
Yeah. So let's just take a look at
Mm-hmm.
let's take an example of the Castle Doctrine. And basically, the Castle Doctrine is pretty much just going to say something like this: that a person is justified in using deadly force. Eh, If someone unlawfully, I want you to understand the word that I'm saying, unlawfully
Mm-hmm.
and forcibly enters your home and attempts to come into your car, your home, or other a place of business. Why is that unlawfully part significant? We're going to go ahead and give you some example. I'll go ahead and give you an example. Let's
Mm-hmm.
just say you have somebody who is breaking into your home. Not a problem. You see them and you they're they don't live there whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they start coming towards you in a menacing way. You
Mm-hmm.
can articulate, and you must articulate, that you had some reason of fear that this individual was going to come and harm you. Okay. First, they broke into your harm. You don't know what they have, but you were feared that you were going to go ahead and be assaulted in some way, and it could cause great danger. You can then, at least in Georgia, go ahead and protect yourself on that end of it. But let's switch it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that we're going to put a wild hair in there. Let's just say that somebody breaks into your home.
Mm-hmm.
But does it change now when that person that breaks into the home is now a roommate?
Mm-hmm.
They can lawfully be there. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have their keys
Mm-hmm.
and you saw them coming towards you. You mistook that as fear and killed them. There are some elements that you have to be so self-aware of, have to have a level of emotional intelligence for. And that we don't have, we're not seeing that in the streets a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just go ahead and feel as though that that just gives me a license to blast. They just broke into my home and I can go crazy. Well, have the enough emotional intelligence. Like, who could come into your home? We've had fathers kill daughters breaking into the home,
Mm-hmm.
sons,
Mm-hmm.
vice versa, because of things like that. These are all tragedies. And so we've had even police officers kill other police officers, you know? when they're being told, hey, guess what? We're going to go into this house. All right.
Mhm.
Legally, we're going into this house. I need you just to stay on the back door. Do not enter. We're coming in. Well, guess what? Officer came in the back door as they were coming down the stairs of the basement, and they thought that was somebody else, and they shot and killed him.
Mhm.
These elements are very serious, and if you don't have, if you don't think these things can happen, I mean, I know things are happening like in football, bang bang plays.
Mhm.
Um, but you have to go ahead and take an account for who's all in the house from what you could know, what you know at the moment,
Mhm.
certainly. And there's, it's not just cut and dry just like that. There's been some provisions in the law where there's understandable as in what would a reasonable person do during that time.
Mhm.
But that's one of them, and so you have two roommates, and you're thinking that somebody's really, really coming to get you, you know?
Mhm.
So the shooter may be charged with aggravated assault. There's no doubt about that.
Mhm.
Um, and but I said the word may because there's so many other things that can be involved in it. Let's give you even a better one in it. What about a landlord or a maintenance worker at an apartment? You're
Mhm.
sleeping, you're doing a night shift, you're in your home, and you're not really into your faculties, and you think somebody's breaking into your place. What happens then? That person is lawful because they gave you notice that they're coming in to do something. So
Wow.
everything is just not cut and dry as
Mhm.
people would like to make it seem and believe. And I've
Mhm.
already talked to you about the people serving warrants. You know, the one famous warrant that was that got some, I believe, Louisville cops in trouble. If you remember, they had really went about writing a false search and seizure warrant. It
Was
had
that
no
Breonna Taylor?
Breonna Taylor,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those officers, or at least the one officer, is doing prison time now because of that, and appropriately so. But even the law in that instance saying, hey, guess what? Officers enter a home with a valid search and seizure warrant. Okay. The homeowners, you know, can, if they open fire, this is what can happen. Law enforcement or the judge and the courts will go ahead and say they have the right to enter. And so, you can't justify the force upon them. Uh,
Mm.
and that's why that case was a little bit tricky, but it really turned out that that person lied on the probable cause to even try to get that search and seizure warrant. So the judge is believing everything that those officers are saying, and they sign off on that. Yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. Well, it comes to bite them in the ass when they come to find out
Mhm.
that, oh, he lied. Well, guess what? You're now responsible for her death, and the boyfriend at the time was justified believing somebody was breaking in,
Mhm.
and thus, they got some complicated issues. So you
Yeah.
do have things like that, and I wanted to bring up to people because everything's just not as cut and dry, and proportionality. Let's talk about that. You know,
Mhm.
so let's talk about that. You have a scenario where two people are fighting. Okay, they're
Mhm.
fighting somewhere, like on a porch or something like that.
Mhm.
One punches the other, and then it turns out, and they walk away, and the guy gets back up. He wants to get back at it, and you're punching again. Well, you get tired, and you instead of he gets knocked down again, you straddle him, and you keep on punching and punching and punching.
Mm.
Mm, guess what? You going to jail, even if he started it, because the proportionality is off.
Mhm.
The moment that that person is rendered incapacitated to do anything, you
Gotta
stop.
stop. Yeah.
You cannot keep on doing it, and you'll see that in videos all over the world, on
Mhm.
TikTok, all over the social media spectrum. It goes like that with police officers too,
Mhm.
because if I am, my job is to go ahead And if I am engaging with someone, and if I have to go ahead and use deadly force
Mhm.
on an individual, I am to stop as soon as that person is incapacitated. So if I'm shooting at somebody, bow, bow, just a double tap, and that
Mhm.
person has stopped, I can't keep on going pow, 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 pow until they fall to the ground. They don't
Right.
have to fall as long as they stop their action.
Mhm.
That's where we're at.
Mhm.
So there's proportionalities that come into this, and so you know there are instances where we've seen the perversion of that. Let's take a look at the Trayvon Martin case,
Mhm.
where George Zimmerman naturally is being told to stand down. Florida being, of course, stand your
Stand.
ground state.
Mhm.
And the young man was just walking down the street with Skittles and an Arizona iced tea. He approaches him to the point where a confrontation begins and doesn't want the young man to go anywhere. Well, the young man obviously is handling his business. And the only reason why George Zimmerman even approached him was on some coward stuff because he had a gun on him. But of course, eh, I want people to understand this too when I say this. Dead men can tell no stories.
Yep.
They can't tell any stories. So
Mhm.
the narrative goes to the person who's alive. And they can say, without all the physical evidence, is that that person did A, B, C, and D and said A, B, C, and D. And without any video evidence, we have to go down, try to go into the physical evidence portion of it, you know, made him out to be, of course, substandard and the aggressor. And all he did was defend himself against this guy. And this guy couldn't handle it no more and shot and killed him. It's unfortunate, but
There
I
was
still
no
think
eyewitnesses or nothing though. It's nothing.
right, right, right,
Nothing.
right.
Yeah, nothing but Zimmerman's testimony, and that's all they had to go on.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, so, and that happens, we've heard perversions of the laws, for decades and decades and decades. We
Mhm.
had a guy who I framed as One-Eyed Willie down in Texas. Um, in Texas, of course, they have a county there where you can not only is it, stand your ground, but you can go ahead and protect your neighbor's home and so on and so forth. Now get this.
Mhm.
Some individual, this guy, for lack of a better name, One-Eyed Willie, he's in his home and he sees his next door neighbor's house being robbed. There's an individual that goes through the window and is bringing out a TV. He's calling it onto the 911 system. At that point in time, 911 tells him also to stand down.
Mm.
He tells him, "No, I have a right to go ahead and confront him." And sure he does. As the guy's running away with the TV, he shoots him in the back and no charges.
Mm.
That is the exception. I don't know anywhere else in the United States where you can get away with that, possibly Alaska, but no. And the reason why I say the Alaska is I don't know if you know this. Alaska is um, the number one state in the union that has the most domestic violence incidents, bar none, and laws broken, bar none.
Wow.
You want to know why?
Why is that?
The reason being is they don't have nobody else up there to enforce it. There's too few law enforcement up there. So it just stands to reason that a lot of issues, especially with domestic violence, is so prevalent up there. And of course, because of the wildlife and other issues down there, and of course, the weather and so on and so forth, it's not uncommon for people to have weapons on them. you know
Mhm.
so there's issues left and right up there, but that's just an example of some areas of the United States where these issues pop up,
Mhm.
and you have to go ahead and understand, what does an assault mean, what characterizes an assault, and battery, and
mm,
what are you trying to neutralize an attacker, or are you trying to get retribution? Are you trying to get back? You see,
mm,
and the law is very clear about that.
mhm.
If you are to if the action stops, you must stop.
Stop. Mhm.
If you do not do that, you're going to be in prison.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I know Texas is one of those states as well that
Mhm,
you can shoot somebody in defense of property. I think
mhm,
that they're the only state like that. Now it don't even have to be great bodily injury to your person. You
mhm.
can protect your car, your lawnmower, your bicycle sitting on your lawn. You can protect property, so to speak. But in Georgia, you see a lot of, well, all over the country, but it's a lot of instances where road rage just takes over. People pull out guns. I was always one of these people that be the same person that you are without the gun. For some reason, these firearms is giving people that don't have heart some heart. You know what I mean? Speak to us on that when it comes to like, an anger management type situation with road rage, two motorists just going back and forth. Give us some
When
insight on self-defense when it comes to that.
my rule has always been, if you get out of the car with your weapon, it's going to be bad times for you.
Mhm,
It's just going to be bad times. Um, think we have these incidents every single day on our roads where people are yelling, getting upset, honking, and so on and so forth. Then it's a little bit about what we were talking about before, emotional intelligence. And people are so quick to have a level of bravery when they have a weapon on them, particularly a firearm. And thus, they happen to take on a persona that is different, than when that weapon is not there. We've matriculated over the years from going from handling the handling yourself with some physicality with your hands, and have morphed into now with weapons being a dime a dozen, where we have to use that our masculinity is at play. Part of that is tied to, of course, the advent of social media, and obviously people having cell phones and can go in and tape everybody now. Before, you can get your butt kicked before, and the only thing that could really come about that is if somebody was able to see it, they say something to somebody else, and you get embarrassed about that and maybe want to go hitting back at it again, or there was evidence on your face, so on and so forth. But now it's being taped, and now the world, your little circle may know
Millions,
about it, but now millions of people are seeing it.
millions of people can see it.
Nope, nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants that type of
Oh,
embarrassment,
right. Because
you know?
that's some stigma that you had to live with forever. Because you can be like, people see you on social media, you're gonna see somebody that's seen you on social media. I get that now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's one of those things that when we was growing up, sometimes you could duke it out. You might have two or three different rounds, and then you go to being friends. But now everybody is quick to run to that firearm. I'm,
Correct.
I'm talking about like you willing to throw away 20, 30 years, 10 years of something that you worked hard for 2 seconds of emotion.
Right.
um Never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and so a lot of people who are carrying these firearms, if they did take any type of weapons classes, they're not remembering some of the things that they're doing. And for the others, naturally, what generally happens when you get into a very high stress incidents like that, if you're not trained to deal with high stress moments, you have an interruption with your brain, and how to cognitively think through things reasonably, and
Mhm.
thus um, you default to emotion, you know. And a lot of what generally happens is, especially for a bunch of us guys who have a bunch of testosterone or so on and so forth, you know, you take personal affront to a lot of what people say. I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many times people have bad mouthed me, said all types of things. What do I care? You know, I don't care. Or even saying that they whip me and do all this stuff and press
Mhm.
me and stuff like that. What do I care? I mean, until you do it, you can say whatever you want to say,
Whatever you
you
want
know?
to say. Yep.
And I've had people even step, even for the ones who are brave, step to me as if they want to do something, but they never went to that final act. And if they did, that's what hospitals are made for. That's what morgues are made for, and that's what jail cells are made for.
That's
And I
right.
give them a choice. I always
Right.
give them a choice. Which one do you want to go to today? It's your choice. I,
Yep.
I I'm not going to make the choice for you, but if you let me make the choice for you, your life is going to be easier. I'd rather go ahead and cuff you and send you away, you know. But when you take that choice away from me by
Mhm.
trying to strike me, all bets are off, you
Yep.
know. And so that's what I would give them if they had, and give them some pause to go
Mhm.
ahead and concentrate about their life and what that might look like later on. But what happens is, away from the color of authority that I have and what two people who are combatants coming into it, they read things differently than maybe someone who, like myself and others, who have a greater understanding of the law and what you can do.
Mhm.
And they take certain liberties that they should not be taking, and they listen to a lot of these street scholars that
Mm.
says you can do this and you can do that. And I'm telling you right now, that's no good. And if you go ahead and pay attention, you can spend decades behind bars on a
Mhm.
humbug that should
Yep.
have never happened.
Yep. Yep. All because of a split second decision.
Right. Right.
One split second decision, without thinking about it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it can send everything to the left. You know.
Right.
Um, it
Yeah,
was.
you gotta breathe. You know, first of all, you know, you people should concentrate on breathing. You know, and why saying that, that seems silly. What is he talking about? Well,
Mhm.
guess what? When you're in a situation like that and you see what you perceive as a threat, you know, your eyes get a little bit darted, your voice gets a little bit shrilly, you know.
Mhm.
You basically, or you may want to go ahead and project yourself to be out bigger than you are. You start broadening your shoulders and so on and so forth. These are all telltale signs. I know somebody wants to bubble up, you know. They
Mhm.
may go ahead and put their foot back as if they're going to do something, or their arm back. And you know, in my head, I'm just thinking, okay, here we go. Here's the dance. But you know, we have these issues that people take these type of that these threats and be like, okay, they may do that, they
Mhm.
may not. Um, you have, and it depending on the situation. Let's talk about the car situations that a lot of people do. You know, if
Mhm.
somebody's angry at you and punching at your window and stuff like that, let them punch at the window.
Mhm.
That's hitting your car. Let them punch at your car. Why? Their car is right there.
Mhm.
Just get the tag number. You're
That's.
good. You
Mhm.
know, all you have to do, write it down, call the cops. Like, okay, okay, I understand. I understand. One of the things I'm famous for doing is putting my hands up almost in retreat. Now, that's me with weapons. That's me with training, and I'll still do that.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. I'm sorry. It almost comes down to what a lot of people do, and you know that these people have great bravado. You may see these images of people walking around with, you know, particularly in right now in Florida. You know, a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we enacted an open carry state here. So now people can go ahead legally carry openly. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Especially somebody like me. Yeah, it's legal for you to do that. No problem. Go ahead and do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
It turns you
and
into a
but
target.
here's if I know that you
Mm-hmm.
got a heater on you, who has the element of surprise? Me or you?
Mm-hmm.
I got you, son. Don't do that.
Right.
That's dumb. That's dumb. You know, responsible people know, hey, guess what? I don't want nobody to know I got anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have the emotional intelligence to say, hey, guess what? This is what I'm going to do. Now, of course, you're going to mix that in with people of the element that, don't want nobody to know because, of course, they have other issues in their background. You know, that's a different conversation on that. But if you're a person that is able to, don't be that dummy.
Mm-hmm.
You're inviting conflict. And that's the other thing about life, too. You
Mm-hmm.
know, strength invites conflict. When you show strength or when you have strength, conflict will come.
Because
E-
somebody want to challenge it.
Exactly. At all
Mm-hmm.
times.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand that if you're rich, people will want your money and they sue you. You know, a lot of people are like, guess what? I'm rich. I'm happy. No, 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 no. You don't know, understand the costs that come with that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, fame, same difference. These things come up at a cost, and you have to go ahead and use certain. Um, you have to go ahead and acquit yourself in such a way that you have to understand these things and prepare for these. Not only in mentally, but in other aspects of your life. You have to let your family members know about these things and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a time where my kids would say, well, I would always tell people I was a sanitation worker. I worked for the city. I didn't want people to know what I did for a living.
Mm.
Why would I want that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
because they would all think right away I had something. Well, no, kids, come here. You might be proud, but don't tell people I'm a cop. Don't tell people I'm this. Don't tell people I'm that. Mm. I work for the city. If that, or I work for the county, or I work for the state. That's
Mm.
all you need to tell them.
That's it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you protect yourself. But
Mm.
using force, if there comes a time where there is someone that approaches you and means to do you harm, you want to be tried by six, then buried by six, right?
Mm-hmm. Try by 12,
Tried by 12, excuse me, tried by 12
then be
and
carried by
buried by
6.
six.
Absolutely.
So, you know, but you got to also understand that the moment that it becomes critical that you handle yourself appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you're going to pay a very, very, very high price. And that's why I've always been I'm a a big proponent of small arms fire. Hey, guess what? If you can carry, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. I don't have a problem with that. And when I run across individuals who I had to stop, most of those guys, 100%. Detective
Mm-hmm.
Hill, Officer Hill, Investigator Hill, guess what? I got something on me. I just want to let you know it's right over there. It's right on me right here. They put their hands up. For the law abiding ones, they're cool as heck. Not a problem. They let you know straight up, right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
But I always ask the question, do you have A, B, C, and D? Because I'm going to go ahead and put you in the state of mind. I'm asking no other questions but that right off the bat with my encounter with you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to give you clear commands. We've seen uh, instances where Castile, if you remember up north, I believe is in Minneapolis, I might be wrong, where an officer asked him, did he have any weapons and so on and so forth. He was the passenger of this vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
He told him he did, and it's right here. And he went to go ahead and show him, and the officers just went boom, boom, and handled him. He he had a concealed weapons card. That's unfortunate. And even in the most you never know how the other person is feeling and what they're going through. And then what I'm trying to tell members of your audience is
Mhm,
that you have to really, really, really put yourself in the mindset and be one with the situation. Understand that you might know where you're coming from, but you have to have great situational awareness to know what other people are coming from too.
mhm,
And you got to use you got to use some reasonableness to your
mm,
belief, you know.
mm,
Um, a lot of people believe that they got imminent harm and on their shelf, and they come to find out objectively a reasonable person wouldn't even believe to think that they were in imminent harm. You just can't go
so
ahead and say, and we see that with police officers right there and
mhm,
wrong shootings all the time.
yeah,
You know, I believe that they had this. I was in fear of my life. And I always say this to everyone, and particularly to those officers that do that. And I'm going to
mm,
say it once again on your show
mhm,
that for those officers that are doing that type of stuff and gotten away, they're punks. They're super punks because what they're doing is they're using that I'm in fear of as a cheat code. And
mm,
that's wrong.
right,
You can't keep on saying I'm afraid. Then if you're that afraid, take that badge, put it in the trash, get out of there.
right,
Because guess what? I've been afraid many a times. But there's another word that should sneak in, and that's called courage. In spite of, even with your fear, in spite of, you keep on doing your job at a very high level. You
mm,
can't keep on claiming, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Don't do the job.
mhm,
Don't.
right.
And that's where we have our problems at.
Mm. So when you say reasonableness, you mean that basically for the 12 jurors, would they gotta feel like what you did, they would have did the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Would they have done the same thing given the same circumstances? And then, of course, it'll be, in court, it's all about, of course, the prosecutor and the defender. Then they're trying to go ahead and put the best case and argument on why something was done and why something wasn't done. So
Mhm,
you got to also think about why wasn't it done? You mentioned the 11 states.
mhm,
Not everybody has and with the other states, you know, you you got to retreat unless you cannot, and so for that part of it, if you don't make an active attempt to try to retreat from that situation,
you going to jail.
you got to understand that it's where you are, where your boots are at, where's your shoes at. So it will determine a lot about your freedom. And and for me, it's always been, I understand states' rights, but the tough part about it is that, of course, if you go from one state to the next, or you live in a border town, or so on and so forth, things can get hairy from just a few feet away from being in one state than another. I mean, you take a look at the four corners. Which one of those states are, there where you have a right to go ahead and use deadly force on one instance, and you can't use deadly force in another?
Mhm,
You you got to know where you're at, what are and you can't go with presumptions.
mhm,
That can get you into a pickle of things that you can never get back out of, or you're going to pay a very dear price for that.
mm. Powerful,
Yeah.
powerful. Man, this some good stuff, man. This is some jewels, man. And the audience definitely, most definitely appreciate it, man, because like I said to begin with, a lot of people, yes, you're able to own a firearm or a
Mhm.
weapon. Yeah, I mean, you can take somebody out of here with anything.
Mhm.
Um, but a lot of people don't take the proper steps and the proper training to figure out when is the right time to do that.
Mhm.
So, man, I definitely appreciate the fact that we was able to tap into your knowledge, man, on this issue, man. Man, tell everybody about the socials, man, where they could find you, man. Cause I mean, like I say, is growing fast. And y'all have awesome content, man. So I need them to be able to get in touch with you, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I appreciate that. You can reach us at Hill of Justice on all socials. I believe that the only one social that we have is different, the Hill of Justice One, and that's I believe that's on TikTok. But we have a growing community on YouTube that's getting bigger every day.
mhm,
And the things that we do over there is basically break down hot topics is is between me and my brother
mhm,
and how he sees things and how I see things. And sometimes they're not the same, and that's one of the things that is good as we're talking about with this show is
mhm,
that people see things differently. It depends on the perspective of where you're at. If you're standing here, you're going to see a situation one way. But if you move just 5 feet over to the left or right, you're going to see something very different. So, you have to have some really good thoughts about where you stand and where other people will stand that can make things clear. But yeah, the Hill of Justice is basically, two former law enforcement officers just giving their takes on the issues at hand, and then more importantly, breaking those down. And you know, w- we receive the praise when we do, and there's a lot of people that come after us too, which we're tickled by, but it's all part of the discourse
mhm,
of our lives,
mhm,
because anything can change in a moment's notice. And we're just here to bring those type of perspectives. And it's good to have from different worlds. We were definitely didn't police in the same areas.
mhm.
So those type of things make a difference when we talk about these matters.
Absolutely, man. So I mean, perspective is everything. I mean, look at you. You did 20 plus years in law enforcement. Your brother did what, 20, 30 years, something
30, I
like that.
think yeah,
Yeah,
he did
30
like 10
years.
more than me or something like
Listen,
that. Yeah, did a lot more.
and the thing, and I bring 16 years of incarceration. So I
Right,
got a perspective, as well as your brother. He went through incarceration.
right,
We all
right.
got perspectives, and
Mhm.
the perspectives that we bring to the table can help somebody think, because somebody's gonna see it your way, somebody's gonna see it my way, somebody's gonna see it his way. But the fact of the matter is, they're seeing it. We're talking about it. We're giving our experiences, our life experiences, and it's just go. And as OGs,
Mhm.
as people would say, we're OGs. We support, this is what we're supposed to do for our young brothers and sisters. So
Right, right.
hey, I definitely listen. I'm definitely appreciating what you're doing, man.
And likewise, and I do want to go ahead and give you your flowers right here on this video. First of all, to give back after so many years of incarceration, I have nothing but mad respect for. Um,
Appreciate it.
and then to give back in a manner where 90%, 95% of the people coming back home, re-entering what is an unforgivable um, you know, culture that we have
Hmm.
is it says a lot about you, your character, and your journey because it's always about the journey. It
Right.
will always be about that. Um,
Right.
Everybody's journey is different, but when you can give back, especially the way that you do, that's why I enjoy all your content, and I really encourage individuals to support your channel wholeheartedly, because the fact of the matter is that a lot of things that you're saying, um, I can't be where I'm at, or you can't be where you're at
Hmm.
unless we're pushing each other. And also the the things that you've seen and you've been through for a lot of people, particularly our young guys.
Hmm.
they need to hear those things over and over and over again because, of course, they're products of the environment. And we came from those environments. It didn't matter where we went off the road at, but we came back together.
Mhm.
And this is where your path needs to lead to righteousness and helping others. That is the path. And that is exactly the path that you're showing them. And I'm on that journey with you, quite truthfully. And I love it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you, man. Hill of Justice on all platforms. Man, if you click on to that channel right now, I promise you gonna find something good, man. When y'all was interviewing them correction officers, them former correction officers, or whatever they are, man, I'm glued to the laptop, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. That's pretty wild, right?
yeah, that's it. Look, we love them type of perspectives, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We
yeah,
all got attacked on that, man. Me, I got attacked. The Keith got attacked. We got the COs got attacked. We got it from all angles, but I loved it. I
yeah,
loved it because it showed that people cared. Of course, people have argued about, oh, guess what? That officer, that correctional officer, they're dirty. They're doing this. The other correctional officer was dirty. You guys are nothing but has-beens, doing a show like that because of the fact that they for whatever reason, you shouldn't even brought people in because they were telling a lie or something like that. And I tell people, oh, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We do that in court every day.
right.
You think everybody that comes into that courtroom tells the truth? No,
Nope.
nope. So you got to hear it from all perspectives, whether
Mhm.
you like it or not.
Not, yeah. Yep. Absolutely. On that note, man, again, appreciate you, man. Hill of Justice on all platforms, people. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please get the message out, man.
Please.
Send it to everyone, send it to one person. We good with that.
Right.
Thank you for tuning into XCon Media. Go right ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hurry up!